Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Spurs Up Show presented by the Armchair Americans. I am your host, Chris Phillips, joined as always by my co-host and my colleague, Thomas Floyd. We are back again for episode 46 with a packed show for you guys today. But first, if you're not subscribed yet, Thomas can attest. I'm not sure what you're really doing at this point if you're listening and not subscribed to us yet on anywhere you listen to your podcast. Be sure to go online, rate, subscribe, share, and download the Spurs Up Show on iTunes, the Stitcher app, wherever you consume your media, wherever you consume your podcast. Not only does it help us out, but Tom, not sure if you knew this, it actually helps other people find us as well. So if there's other Gamecock fans that maybe somehow haven't heard of us, it will help them find us. So please be sure to go online. We prefer you leave a 5-star review, but if not, tell us how you feel. Let us know we can improve. We obviously love to hear all the feedback. Obviously, follow us on all our honesty is key. Obviously, be sure to follow us on all of our social media accounts on Twitter at ArmchairSCar. That's Armchair SCAR on Twitter. Instagram at Armchair SCarolina. We're getting a big Instagram push over the last week or so doing our countdown to kickoff. And like I mentioned, this podcast is brought to you by the Armchair Americans. Please be sure to visit armchairamericans.com for all of your latest breaking Gamecock news and coverage. And, of course, our podcast and any other sports needs you may have. We cover everything from professional to college as well. So like I mentioned, I'm joined as always with my co-host, Tom Floyd. Tom, how's it going? How you been doing this week?
It's great. Great week.
Great.
Big things.
Great
big news.
Great to have you back on. And like I said right before we went on the air, we were supposed to record last night, our normal, Tuesday night slot, post a show on Wednesday. Really glad we got pushed back because today was a huge, huge news day in Gamecock country. And we're going to get to all of it in just a second. But, of course, we got some segments to get to. I want to start first. Your overreaction of the week, Tom, go ahead.
My overreaction of the week is that South Carolina losing Brian Bowen to the NBA isn't a big deal. I think he would have been a great player for us, and but he was a one-year rental, obviously, for that actually he could play in. And he would have been a really good player, but if you didn't see this coming at this point, I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, I kind of have to agree with you. I mean, trust me, it sucked at first when I first heard the news, and especially when first Rakeem Felder not coming back, then not being dismissed from the team, and then this huge slap. But it was, the thing about it is at the end it was a risk that Frank Martin took, and you knew this could have been the outcome. So we'll get a lot more into that in a little bit. Obviously, that's one of our huge stories. My overreaction of the week, Tom. South Carolina will host a super regional. So I'm sure everyone saw actually. South Carolina will be heading to Greenville for the regional rounds of the NCAA baseball tournament, which we're going to get to in a little bit more, break everything down. My reaction again, South Carolina's going to host a super regional. So South Carolina is sitting at the 2 seed. I think South Carolina's got a very good chance to win that regional. East Carolina hosts, the other teams in the regional are Ohio State and UNC Wilmington, which I think are very, very manageable opponents for South Carolina. I think South Carolina is a team that I don't think anybody wanted to see in their regional as far as a 1 seed is concerned. And I'd put South Carolina's chances of winning the regional fairly high, Tom. I don't know about you. They're actually paired up with the Fayetteville regional, which is Arkansas's regional, which obviously, as we know, South Carolina did not have the best of luck with Arkansas in the SEC tournament and the regular season. They lost 2 or 3 of them in the regular season, got blown out in the SEC tournament. But, and here's my overreaction, I took, taking a look at the regional, obviously I help out a little bit with the Caught Looking Show with John Gillen and Tyler King and those armchair college baseball guys. That regional is very, very intriguing and probably one of the tougher ones. My overreaction, South Carolina is not only going to win their regional, but Arkansas will get knocked off in their regional, and South Carolina will host a super regional at Founders Park the following weekend. So we'll see what happens. All right, so moving ahead. We heard you guys' feedback. We're going to change things up a little bit with our other segment. Instead of This Week in Tater News, what we realize is while the world of orange and purple is a hilarious one and most of the time absurd, we realize why limit it to one fan base? Why limit it to one fan base and why limit it to one sector story? So now we're going to be shifting, Tom, to our favorite news story of the week because there are so many, and I did not want to put a cap on your creative genius. So with that being said, I'm going to start first this time. My favorite news story of the week, Tom. Ray Tanner is on the hot seat. Not by us. Not by us. We had this conversation beforehand, and Tom didn't even know what I was talking about. Oh, yes, Tom. Ray Tanner is on the hot seat for a couple of reasons. Number one, I want to start with the college baseball, NCAA baseball tournament. Ray Turner's on the hot seat with Ray Tanner, I should say, is on the hot seat with Clemson fans. So Clemson fans basically saying that the conspiracy theory behind why Clemson was not a top 8 national seed is because of the Ray Tanner effect. He shouldn't be allowed to be on the, Ray Tanner's on the, I forget, the board for college baseball or whatnot, whatever the official title that he has is. Basically, he's on the committee that determines who are the national seeds, who are the hosts, who gets in the tournament period. Clemson was left out of the top 8 national seeds, and Clemson Twitter had a complete meltdown, saying that Ray Tanner was the cause of it and the reason they were not a top 8 national seed, which was absolutely hilarious. Part 2 of Ray Tanner being on the hot seat. One of our competitors, if you will, I will not name the podcast, but 2 fairly big South Carolina personalities. You most likely follow their work and may or may not follow them. Again, I'm not going to drop any names, but 2 of the bigger South Carolina personalities giving basically Ray Tanner all of the heat for Brian Bowen not being eligible, saying that Ray Tanner is not stern enough with the NCAA, that he's basically not doing his jobs as an AD, heading a corporation like South Carolina is, a money-making machine. So Ray Tanner is on the hot seat from many, many different angles, and I think it's absolutely hilarious. So that is by far my favorite news story of the week.
Yeah, I think Ray Tanner being on the hot seat is probably one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. It's like not even like, okay, the Clemson part I can kind of get because he beat you in, I think, we beat him in 2 World Series, right? College World Series.
Yes, and I'll go back to that really quickly, not to cut you off. One of my favorite tweets from the week, though, about that is that a South Carolina fan replied to, I think, some media members' tweet about saying how ridiculous it was. And the fan said, I don't think Ray Tanner did this, but I really, really hope he did this. Yeah. And I thought they just summed it up so well. I was like, what? There's no way Ray Tanner did this, but God, if he did do it, it's so great.
Yeah. Well, my news story of the week, favorite news story of the week, was the fact that some Tennessee fan had the ball sack to go to Williams-Brice. For whatever reason, he was there, couldn't tell you, and take a picture of holding up a Vols flag in front of Willie B. And the amount of replies that he got back roasting him to death, he got
bodied. He got bodied.
It was horrible.
He had players, Keyshawn Nixon coming after him.
Yeah.
He got bodied.
He was like, I think Keyshawn Nixon has turned into like one of my favorite players because of like how intense he is.
He's great on Twitter.
His Twitter scene is unreal, but that guy just being an idiot just deserves all the smoke that he's getting for this.
Yeah, like I said, he got absolutely put in a body bag. There's no question. It was absolutely fantastic to watch. So, yes, fantastic pick there, Tom. I like that story as well. So, want to jump into our, bigger stories of the week. Obviously, like I said, it was a busy week, and really glad we waited to record until today because a lot happened today. But first, we want to get into something that happened last Friday, something that caught me very much so by surprise. I'm not sure about you, Tom. I know you're more so of our recruiting guru, but I knew of nothing. I did not know any announcement coming. Last Friday, Zach Pickens, 5-star defensive end from T.L. Hanna. That's the high school, correct?
Mm-hmm.
T.L. Hanna, 5-star defensive end, commits to South Carolina, class of 2019. Huge pickup. I got to say, not to take it back to Twitter, Tom, but I have not seen Twitter blow up like that over something, regarding South Carolina, especially a recruit, maybe since Jadeveon Clowney. I mean, the outburst was crazy. But talk a little bit about Zach Pickens. Obviously, again, you're our recruiting guru. I'm going to hand it over to the expert. Talk about Pickens, sort of what it means for the class. I mean, I saw South Carolina jumped, I think, from 14th to 7th, maybe. I could be wrong there.
They're 7 in the composite now, I think. Oh,
yeah,
24/7.
Yeah, but just talk about overall what it means as far as him as a player, as an individual, and then talk about what it means for that class moving forward.
I mean, it's huge, obviously. That's Will Muschamp's first 5-star recruit that he's going to have be committed, and most likely, without something absolutely changing, him coming to the University of South Carolina. He's a guy that he was a take for everybody in the country. And if you're a fool, if you're a Clemson fan or any other kind of fan, you say he's not a take for y'all. That's the real reason South Carolina got him. It's not true. No one really saw this commit coming. Did he have that announced that he was going to announce that on Friday? I mean, he just randomly did it.
This came out of nowhere. Okay.
Apparently, from what I was reading on some different boards, it was said that like Will Muschamp and them knew he was sort of already a silent commit, but they were just waiting on him to actually announce. And the funniest part about this entire thing is that Brent Venables, Clemson's defense coordinator, was at the freaking spring game when he committed. I'm like, dude, you could not have picked a better time to do that. But he's just, I mean, he's huge because that shows you that we can win on the defensive line in recruiting battles because we lost on Xavier Thomas, KJ Henry, and more last year. And everybody was like calling for Lance Thompson's head. Now that everybody loves him. But
exactly,
God, he's just, I mean, you can't speak enough volumes because when people see recruits like Zach Pickens go to South Carolina, it makes them want to go to South Carolina because they're seeing other talented guys are going.
Have you watched a ton of film on him? I mean, what's his biggest strengths and what do you think he'd need to work on? I mean,
it depends on what position he plays in college because he's a little bit of a bigger kid. He's like 6'5", 270 right now, I think. But
yeah, I've heard him compared to like a Melvin Ingram-esque type guy.
Well, I would think more. I've heard the one I've heard a lot is Reggie White, which is like I know a huge comparison, but it's like it's a similar play styles. He can play
style of player.
Yeah. Well, my thing, he would play similar role to Keir Thomas in that he'd be on the edge in on passing downs and then be inside on like first and second down and then he would be on the outside on first and second down, then move to the inside on third down, just have an elite pass rusher. I mean, going against a guard, you're not going to not take that. But from what I've seen on his film, he's really good against the run, which is something that we could like. He's similar to DJ Wanham in that he's just going to shut down the edge every time. And he does a good job against passer too. I mean, my thing is if he decides to keep his career inside and want to stay there, he's got to gain more weight probably. But he's got the frame, and if he wants to stay on the edge, he's just got to shed a few pounds. But that's always the thing with defensive linemen is weight control. So we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said, it's huge to show that South Carolina can win a recruiting battle on the defensive line. I mean, like we've beaten a dead horse talking about last year, the guys they missed out on. Obviously picked up a few late, but really, missed out on a lot of the bigger recruiting battles, defensive linemen. And to get this one so early, I could have put this in the overreaction of the week, but, there were a lot of people on Twitter talking about this could be, because you think about, the recruiting class for 2019 right now. I mean, I'm not going to name them all off because I don't know, but the two that come off the top of my head is Zach Pickens, obviously, and then you have Ryan Helinski, the quarterback, who's probably I saw probably going to get bumped to a 5-star. I mean, I could have read that wrong. I mean, decent chance.
Depends on what website you use, really.
Right. Either way, he's an elite quarterback, high 4-star, whatever.
He's a lot of 5, 6-ish quarterback, in my opinion.
Right. So, a lot of people with the hot takes this week basically saying that they think this could be, and a lot of established people saying this too, not just fans, that this could be the best, maybe the best recruiting class in South Carolina history. Do you think it's too early? Do you think it's too early to make a claim like that, or do you really think that this could be the first big domino that falls to get some other guys?
They would have to have a lot of pieces fall into place. Like you probably have to have like 5 more 4-stars, and if they were, you probably have to get a 5-star, 1 more 5-star, probably 4 4-stars, and a high 3. If that's, I think if we have like 10 spots left, maybe something like that. It would be. I would doubt it's the best class ever, but it could easily be top 3, no doubt.
Yeah, I mean, what is the best class ever? What's the best ranked class? It had to be one of Spur years, right? Like the 6th or 7th rank?
I'm assuming that he's been top 5. I think they went a top 5 class one time, maybe. I think that was probably the one. Maybe the one that included like Gilmore and Jeffrey and all of them. That one was probably pretty high. If they were all, I think, because they were all the same year.
Right. I want to say, I swear to you, I think the highest they ever got was 6th or 7th. I don't think they got above that, to be honest. I don't know. Because even, that's what I try to tell people, even those years when Spurrier was recruiting so well, I mean, they were normally finishing between 12th and 15th, I thought. But I could be wrong.
I mean, for us, though, like, at that point in time, that was, like, huge for us.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I think it'd still be huge now. But, I mean, this class.
You can come, like, 10th in the country and be 5th in the SEC. It's just how ridiculous it is.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that this class has to have a pretty strong potential to be a top 10 class. Would you not? I mean, would you not agree?
They could be top 10. They would have to have. I mean, again, they'd have to have a lot of pieces fall into place, but it's possible. But with Muschamp leading the way and T. Rob and all those guys, I think there's a decent chance they're going to get a couple guys there. Yeah, they're targeting. So we'll see. Well, I definitely think it definitely doesn't hurt to have a guy like Zach Pickens commit and kind of be vouching for South Carolina. And because, like you said, great players want to play with great players. Like, they want to have the chance to win championships, and to win championships,
you got to have great players. And when you know a kid's like that's going there, you're like, hey, I'm going to go play with him. Let's see if we can win a title. So
yeah,
you never know. It'll be interesting. In the next tidbit, next piece of football news came today. On a little bit of the less positive side, obviously, Bryce Thompson, the athlete from Dutch Fork, will be playing college football in the SEC next year, and it will not be at South Carolina. Bryce Thompson has enrolled or will be enrolling at the University of Tennessee. Tom, this news came out today, and I first read it, and I'm mad. And I don't know who to be mad at, but I'm mad.
I'm mad that they didn't land him, but I don't know. Like, I don't know what else they could have done if his academics weren't there for us. Then I don't understand how they were there for Tennessee.
And
he's taking summer classes, which is what a bunch of early enroll or like summer enrollees do. Is they take summer classes, but I don't. I just don't get it.
I'm not trying to put down South Carolina. Obviously, we're South Carolina guys, but how do you not get into South Carolina, but you can get into Tennessee? I mean, is it that much easier? Like, I don't know about Tennessee. Like, because, I mean, let's be honest, like, it's, South Carolina, it's not like it's Vanderbilt. It's not like it's impossible to get in. That's the thing that confuses me. I mean, how bad were his grades really? And you know what the most interesting thing about this is? I'm not sure if you saw on Twitter, but Rob Profit, who is a guy who's a friend of our, friend of the show, friend of Armchair South Carolina, a friend of mine, he actually had the take that if Will Muschamp wanted Bryce Thompson, that they would have taken him. He could have came to school. He basically thinks that Will Muschamp and those guys came to the point where they didn't want him anymore.
Well, I mean, if it's a character issue, and it could be a character issue, and we don't know, that could very well be true. That he could have gotten in and came. They just were like, nope, we don't want him.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things we may not know for a year, 2 years, 3. We may never know. If he, we may really never know. But
he could flame out at Tennessee and never do anything.
It's just such a.
It sucks because he had the potential.
I mean, it just sucks when you hear a guy, what was it, Steve Tannehill, say that he's – or no, it wasn't Steve Tannehill. It was
the coach at Hammond who used to play I can't think of his name. But
Eric Kimry.
Yeah, maybe that was a guy.
I think it was Eric. I'm going to say it was Eric Kimry. If I'm wrong, oh well. But former Gamecock, obviously has the best interest of the South Carolina program in his, in his sights or whatever. Basically said that he was the best player he'd ever coached.
Well, he used to play – Bryce Thompson used to play at Ben Lippen, which is a private school that is like rivals with Hammond, and he had to play against him. That's why he was like, yeah, the kid's a freak.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it sucks again because I remember when he committed to South Carolina and we were so hyped, and it just sucks to see him not get to fulfill that and not see him in a Gamecocks uniform. And not only to not see him in a Gamecocks uniform, but to have to see him in a Tennessee uniform. You're going
to play him every year.
That to me is what pisses me off the most. If he had went to somewhere if he'd have went to somewhere in the West, if he'd have went to Arkansas, if he'd have went to Mississippi State.
I mean, I would have said not in the SEC. I would then just not care unless it's Clemson, obviously, but
right.
I don't know. It sucks to see him go to Tennessee because of how much we just absolutely hate Tennessee.
Right. And like you said, you got to play him every year. And I mean, the thing is, I don't want to hate the kid because, like I said, I don't know who to be mad at. I'm not mad at the kid. I'm mad at the fact that he didn't come to South Carolina. I'm mad at the fact he didn't do what he needed to do. If he the bottom line is, if you really want to come to South Carolina and you need a certain grade to get there, you're going to do it. So you must not have really wanted to come that bad. So I don't know. I sound like his dad right now, but whatever. Anyways, Bryce Thompson going to be wearing Tennessee orange, which God rest his soul.
Yeah.
Anyways, next piece of news released today: the South Carolina Georgia kickoff announced for 3:30 CBS. Tom, I'm excited about it. I'm pumped for it. I really wish it would have been a night game.
Yeah,
I do. I think everyone did. I saw your tweet today. You're like, how is this not a night game? I'm pumped, though.
Who are they putting over us on CBS for a 7:30 kickoff?
Dude, they're not putting anyone over us. That CBS has first dibs.
No, but I'm saying okay, but who's playing at 7:30 on CBS that makes it to where we can't play on 7:30? That's what I want to know. Is no one playing at 7:30?
No, they don't have a doubleheader that day.
What the? Why are we playing at 3? It makes me so mad.
That's what I'm saying, though. That's what I'm saying, Tom. CBS has first dibs, so they look at all the list of games. They could have taken Texas A&M Clemson, and everybody's saying oh, well, they didn't take them because that's a better game because A&M,
don't think that's a better
A&M
game.
Clemson getting no. The CBS game, when CBS is mine, that is the SEC game of the week. That is the best game. So,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't hate the 3:30 slot. I hate the 3:30 slot in September when it's going to be 100
gosh,
degrees.
it's gonna be 98 at kickoff.
Hey, drink light beer that day, and if you want to go liquor route, please go vodka because whiskey will be a disaster.
Yeah, for a fact.
And maybe mix in a water or two, or if nothing else, Powerade and vodka if you got to do it.
Jeez. Pedialyte and vodka.
But yeah.
It's a nasty combination.
But yeah, anyways, I think it'll be a raucous crowd either way, like I said today on Twitter. And I mean, like I said, I don't mind the 3:30 kickoff. I mean, I've been a huge fan. I've almost gotten used to South Carolina having like these 4 o'clock kickoffs on the SEC.
Because the last 3 years we've been so.
And like you said too, though, South Carolina last year you had the 2 night games just shit the bed. So maybe it's better off that you don't put this one at night. Give it a 3:30 game. I mean, remember 2010 Alabama was at 3:30, and there's some good things that have happened at 3:30 for South Carolina. But the first, well, I guess let's see, the last time it was a 3:30 CBS game was 2014 when South Carolina won 38-35. So. We'll see. You never know. We'll see what
maybe
happens.
We'll get the 2-hour lightning delay again. And
2-hour lightning to get that. Dude, I have the best story about that. I have to tell it now. For that game, my best friend of mine actually stays at the lofts at USC behind the Cockabooses or whatever. We tailgate there every game, whatever. Absolute blast. So I go in there. I get in there get in the stadium about 2:45, 3 o'clock, whatever. Get in before kickoff. And obviously the lightning delay happens. And obviously we've been tailgating all day, been drinking a pretty good bit, having a good time, tailgate stuff, the norm.
Yeah.
That 2-hour that lightning delay hits, they're like, your tickets are good for reentry. I ran right back to the tailgate, got an extra 2 hours of tailgating in. That was I've told you this before, Tom. That 2014 Georgia game is probably my favorite game I've ever been.
That's one of the craziest games I've ever watched, like easily.
It's tied with my favorite game I ever went to with 2013 Clemson. I don't think I've ever been in a stadium that got that nuts because I wasn't in the stadium for 2012 Georgia, unfortunately. So
first year we beat Clemson in the 5 in a row, I was at that game. That was probably the best one I've ever been to because I can't remember who. I think C.J. Spiller maybe took the kickoff back, and my dad was like, "We might as well leave." My dad's like the one who like.
Do you remember in that game the opening kickoff was they stopped him and it was like a penalty, so they had to re-kick and he took the next one back for a touchdown.
Well, I just remember my dad's like he's like the one guy who always is like if we start off the game bad, he's like, all right, let's just go home. I don't want to sit here through this. And that's exactly how he is at every game. Because I remember one time when Tebow came to Carolina and beat the absolute dog crap out of us, I think we left by halftime.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that was miserable. I know exactly what year you're talking about. I think it was 2008.
Yeah, something like that. I was gonna say 9, but probably.
Yeah, that was miserable. But yeah, anyways, Georgia 3:30 kickoff CBS should be a ton of fun. I think South Carolina, Tom, realistically does still have a chance to get game day. I think South Carolina needs to pull for Texas A&M to lose week 1. Who do they? I think they have a pretty solid out of non-conference opponent.
We need to be.
I don't know. Let's see. Anyways, yeah, I think, but I just really do think if Georgia's going to be top 5, I think South Carolina should be ranked. I think they should be ranked 24th, 25th.
If they beat Coastal pretty well, they should be 25.
I wouldn't be surprised if South Carolina's 25th the first week. I really wouldn't.
I mean, coaches poll means nothing, but or AP poll, it really doesn't mean anything either. But we'll see.
Right. I wouldn't be shocked. That's all I'm saying. So, fairly good chance for game day. We'll kind of see as we get closer. And the first week and I guess third week kickoffs will be announced later in the summer. So, obviously, we'll all be looking forward to that. Pray to God Coastal's a night game.
I doubt it.
Yeah, just please not noon. That's all I'm saying. Not noon on September 1st. Please, dear God.
Good way to die.
Yeah, moving to basketball. The big news of the day, Brian Bowen is headed to the NBA. Something obviously a long time coming. The craziest part is the NCAA had until, I guess, tomorrow to make their official decision on Brian Bowen, and they still have not come up with anything, but apparently, according to sources, basically told Bowen that he would be suspended for the entire year, if not longer. I saw possibly he'd have been suspended for 2 years. I mean, Tom, I know you have some strong feelings. Talk about your reaction to finding out the Bowen news today. Were you surprised? And I mean, what do you think it means for Carolina basketball moving forward?
I mean, I wasn't surprised because of the lateness of his, like, I guess, like, him finding out. I was just shocked at the fact that, like, they actually said no, for 2 years you can't play because, or 3 years really, because he couldn't play this year because of what his dad did and took money. It's something that he didn't even have anything to do with, according to. I mean, he's telling him himself, but it's just hard to see that you're. It's the NCAA, the National College Association of Athletes, right? Isn't that right on that or wrong on that?
Athletic Association, yeah, as far as I know.
Yeah. Well, okay. My thing is, and the NCAA is supposed to push academics over athletics. The kid literally tweeted all he wanted to do was just go to college and get an education for another year, and they told him no. That you would be able to sit out basketball, which is, I'm sorry, but when you go to school to play basketball, you want to play basketball, you're not going to get an education. I don't care what he says. He's going to play basketball. And he would have been a really good player for us. And the NCAA is just like, no. But I bet my something that if he would have been at Duke, Kansas, North Carolina, any of those powerhouse schools, and this player would have said, I want to come back and play, his case would have been solved like last year in October or whenever it was that he actually came and said,
hey, the kids at Auburn were found to be eligible. They're getting to play. So
yeah, it's freaking I don't know. Ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you this. I know earlier, your kind of overreaction was losing Bowen's not really a big deal. I have to completely disagree. I just think from an overall program perspective and looking ahead, I think it's devastating. I mean, I saw the news today and just it's just another black eye on the South Carolina basketball program. And again, it's a risk that Frank Martin knew of when he took Brian Bowen. But just to kind of I think Gamecock fans really got their hopes up, especially when you lose Rakeem Felder as well due to, the getting kicked off the team. And then this happens. I just all of the good, positive feelings about, South Carolina fans are saying, okay, 2017, 2018 was a year we were, we lost 70% of our scoring, whatever. We've got Felder coming back. We got Bowen. We got these recruits. 2018, 2019 is going to be a different story. We're going to make a run back at the NCAA tournament. And I feel like all of those feelings have just gone away. So, I mean, the NCAA, though, I agree with you 100%, failed Brian Bowen. I mean, our colleague Ben Parsons, who helps us out with Armchair South Carolina, put up a great tweet just saying that, how is it that Cam Newton only gets one game and Brian Bowen gets 2 years? It just doesn't make it. It just doesn't make.
And Cam Newton actually like broke a laptop and is like known for taking money. So at this point, it's just ridiculous.
And like you said, I mean, if he was at a bigger school like a Kansas, like a Duke, like a North Carolina, you just have to wonder. You have to wonder. I mean, most likely he's eligible. If nothing else, I think there's a decision. If nothing else, I mean, the fact that the NCAA still hasn't come out and said anything is just failing the kid. I mean, how long does it take? It's again, this is another situation like Bryce Thompson where I looked at this news and I don't know who to be upset at. But you've got to be upset at the NCAA, obviously, for just kind of failing this kid again. I mean, the NCAA, we all know, just a crooked institution. And I don't know. I mean, again, I'm not going to say anything negative about Frank Martin due to my being absolutely wrung out to dry on Twitter the last time I did. But, I mean, this isn't Frank Martin's fault. This is not Frank Martin's fault, but it was a risk he took.
I agree. I saw someone tweet that it was a no risk, all reward. And I kind of agree because, like, he's not losing anything except he got the hopes of fans up that he would be able to play.
Right.
But other than that, like,
his job is not to. I mean, I wouldn't have said in the beginning. No, he 100% did the right thing in taking him. Like, it sucks, obviously, but at least I guess maybe the one positive thing that came out of it is that all of those guys got to practice against a guy like Brian Bowen for the entire season. I mean, that's the only positive I can really see in it. I mean, it sucks for the kid too. I mean, like you said, if he really just wanted to play a year of college basketball, I mean, I really believe that. So, I mean, it sucks for the kid, and I think Bowen's probably going to have a pretty tough transition going to the G League. I mean, again, I think it hurts for sure that he hasn't played at all at the college level. Yeah. I mean, I have to only imagine what that adjustment and transition is going to be like at the G League. But I don't know. It just we're so far removed from basketball season right now. Again, it's hard for me to like really get deep into Carolina basketball, but it puts a real damper on looking ahead of this 2018 season and the prospects of what it could have been. You know what I mean? So,
well, I saw Brad Crawford tweet out the potential starting lineup of like Rakeem Felder, Justin Minaya, Brian Bowen, Silva, and Kotsar, or whatever. And he quote tweeted it and said, "This is my worst take ever," and it's like it just sucks so much.
Yep. I mean, both of those guys. I mean, and like I said, I'm putting an unfair amount of blame probably, but it's such a disturbing trend. And again, I know this is out of his control, but it's so disturbing how Frank Martin can't keep a roster intact, can't keep players on the team. I mean, we already discussed the Rakeem Felder thing before. The kid seemed like he did what he needed to do, and all of a sudden he's off the team. And then you take a risk on a guy like Brian Bowen, and it doesn't work out. I mean, I don't know if you saw this tweet, Tom, but a fan made a really decent, I thought a really good point, honestly, to J.C. Sherbert. And you might completely disagree with me, but I think it's at least worth thinking about that Frank Martin is a hot 2-week run away. If you take that hot 2-week run away where South Carolina went to the Final Four, you take that hot 2-week run away, Frank Martin is teetering on Dave Odom 2.0 type level. I mean, I don't
disagree because, if you look at his entire body of work, and I know he had his first 3 years were him completely rebuilding a roster, and 1 year we kind of got snubbed in the NCAA tournament, but the man has made one NCAA tournament in 6 years now. And
God forbid the people that are, listen, I'm not slandering Frank Martin. I think Frank Martin is a really, really good coach, and especially for South Carolina basketball, he's the kind of coach that I think does bring national attention to South Carolina and gives them a chance probably with recruits that maybe they wouldn't have had before. But like you're saying, I mean, one NCAA tournament, and to me, the thing that's so disturbing is like guys transferring, guys leaving.
Yeah, and he said no. It's not like he's had SEC tournament success to replace that. He hasn't. And you would think at this point we could be like similar to what Tennessee is in basketball with how they're consistent every year and like consistently a top 25 team. No, we're not. And it just
consistently just even solid. I mean, even solid.
Because we were I'm sorry, but a horrible team this year. And it's like no other way to look at it. We didn't make the freaking NIT. Like, it's just so hard to look past like the fact that this is his team, and you can't blame anybody else for what's happening with how bad they were last year. Like, you have to look at him and say, and I know having PJ leave when he shouldn't have hurt, but it shouldn't hurt that much.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And again, a lot of South Carolina fans will get very defensive and say, how dare you? He's a great
coach. I'm not saying he's a bad coach.
Yeah, well, a lot of fans will say, how dare you come after or say anything about the coach that took us to the Final Four? I'm giving him credit for it. Great, good job. But I mean, look at a guy. I mean, I know it's a different sport, but look at a guy like Jim McElwain in football. He won the SEC East back-to-back years, had a bad year, and got fired. Like that happens. That kind of thing happens. I mean, Steve Spurrier had 3 straight 11-win seasons. In 2015, he's the head coach of a 3-9 football team. Like, coaches can be good coaches and bad coaches over a coaching tenure.
Yeah,
I mean, it's okay to be brutally honest and notice a disturbing trend. It just is. I mean, it just is. I'm not saying he's a bad coach. I'm not saying that South Carolina should fire him. I think I think he's the best option for South Carolina, but it is a disturbing trend nonetheless. So, I mean, we'll see what 2018-19 holds. But again, it just losing Bowen is just such a knock for this program. And I really, like you said, the lineup that Brad Crawford tweeted out, I mean, Felder, Minaya, Brian Bowen, Silva, Coach. I mean, that team, I think you put that 5 on the floor, these guys had a real chance to make the tournament. Now,
and you could have had Zion Williamson, but missed on him. So
yeah, I mean, it feels like going into this season, it feels like a repeat of last year. It just feels like a repeat of the same year. So,
yeah, I don't see any difference happening.
No, I mean, we'll have to wait and see. But who knows? Anyways, moving to baseball. Obviously, it's been a busy week. We're getting the baseball news last, but obviously the Gamecocks announced on Monday they will be heading to Greenville in the East Carolina Regional. Gamecocks are the 2 seed. Regional sits right now as East Carolina the 1 seed, Gamecocks the 2. Ohio State as the number 3 seed, and UNC Wilmington as the 4 seed. Gamecocks will face Ohio State in Greenville on Friday at 2 o'clock Eastern. Gamecocks will throw right-hander Adam Hill. Ohio State throwing a left-hander. I'm not sure of his name. I don't have it pulled up. Anyways, South Carolina, I think, Tom got a very, very good draw as far as, the regional they're in. A lot of people obviously had them projected in different areas. Raleigh, Conway was another one. I think Greenville was listed a little bit, but I really thought South Carolina was going to be in Raleigh. Gamecocks, I think, got a huge break by going to Greenville. You look at the teams again; it's extremely manageable regional, in my opinion. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and lie and say I know a ton about East Carolina, but when I look at who would I rather play, whose regional would I rather be in, East Carolina or NC State, you're going to take East Carolina 9 times out of, or every single day of the week for sure.
Yeah.
And then Ohio State and UNC Wilmington. South Carolina's played UNC Wilmington in the postseason. They kind of know what they're all about. A team that can really swing the bats, doesn't really have the arms. And then Ohio State, who's a team that I didn't even know played college baseball until this week. So
yeah,
that should be very interesting. But
I really have never heard of them be anything in baseball.
So apparently they made the regionals last year too. But again, I just idea. Big Ten baseball. I don't think baseball is high on the priority list in the Big Ten. So, but anyways, I really think South Carolina's got a really good chance, Tom, to take the regional. I mean, I think it's a very, very favorable regional. Again, South Carolina went 1-2 in the SEC tournament. I think a very ho-hum, very South Carolina thing of them to do. I don't think it really matters a whole ton. I still think this is a really good team. I think any team would have been sweating a little bit to see South Carolina as the number 2 seed in their regional. And again, I mean, having East Carolina be hosting, it should be a lot of fun. Greenville's going to be absolutely packed, especially if South Carolina and East Carolina face each other. The last time South Carolina was in Greenville in the postseason, they played East Carolina in 2009. And the Gamecocks actually lost that regional to East Carolina. So it should be a fun rematch. The Greenville regional is actually paired up with the Fayetteville regional if they do advance. So Arkansas hosting, as I mentioned earlier, kind of in my overreactions of the week, if you will. So it should be a lot of fun. Again, I think South Carolina's got a very, very good chance to make it to the super regional round. I think it would definitely benefit them if there was an upset in the Fayetteville regional. South Carolina hasn't had the greatest success against Arkansas this year. But we'll see. Obviously, you got to take care of business on Friday. I think the biggest key to me, Tom, is just South Carolina they just need to get adequate starting pitching. I mean, they don't need, Adam Hill doesn't have to throw his A stuff. He doesn't need to strike out 14 guys. South Carolina just needs adequate starting pitching, and I think the bats will get them enough runs to win. It's just, you look at, the starting pitching was pretty good against Missouri in the SEC tournament. I mean, but you look at the Arkansas game. I mean, Logan Chapman with the walks only lasted an inning and 2/3. South Carolina got blown out in that game. And then Adam Hill against LSU, with a ton of walks as well. So, I mean, again, if South Carolina starting pitchers can just keep them in the game, I think they've got the bats to do it. I think they've got the bats to win the regional and make a pretty deep run.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think if you get 6 innings and 3 earned runs out of Adam Hill, I think they got a good chance to win.
That's a good start. I literally will take 6 to 7 innings from a starter, 3 to even 4 runs given up from each of the South Carolina starters. You can say you can either have them go out and anything happen, or I'll give you a guaranteed 6 innings, 3 runs. I would take it in a heartbeat. I'll take the 6 innings, 3 earned runs, because I think South Carolina, I'll bet on this offense to score more than 3 runs. The way they're swinging it, I really think the biggest thing, one of the biggest stories to me is TJ Hopkins going to be healthy? I mean, he been out with the whole back thing. He was able to get in a little bit in the SEC tournament, but he's a guy they desperately need to get back in the top of their lineup. I mean, he's kind of the cog that makes that machine. He's the cog that makes that machine go. And I mean, they're a different. Many people have said it. Kingston, a lot of different people have said they're just a different lineup when he's in there. So that'll be something huge to watch. And again, we're going to be following it. I'll actually be covering the entire regional with help of Patrick DeMar. He'll be covering as well. So it should be a lot of fun. Patrick, I think, might actually be in Greenville for that. So, I mean, it should be a really, really fun weekend. You know, again, I think South Carolina's got a really, really good chance of winning that regional and, you know, advancing. Again, it's been 6 years since South Carolina was in Omaha. So, you know, Tom, I think it's time to make a run. I think it's time to make a run.
Could be a good year.
Either way, it feels good to be back in the postseason after missing it last year. I can tell you that much. And it feels good for South Carolina to be in the postseason and College of Charleston to not be. So that's all I got to say about that. Yep. But I think that's about all we've got this week. I think that's pretty much going to wrap us up. So, again, if you haven't checked us out, please be sure to go rate, subscribe, share, and download on iTunes, the Stitcher app, wherever you consume your media, wherever you consume your podcasts. All of our social media accounts, Twitter at ArmchairSCar, Instagram at ArmchairSCarolina. And, of course, Armchair All-Americans. Again, I think that's going to wrap us up. Tom, you got anything else?
No, I'm good.
All right, perfect. Well, like I said, tune in. Be sure to stick to Armchair South Carolina for all of your regional coverage this weekend. And we will come to you guys again next week. So, in the meantime, for Tom Floyd, I'm Chris Phillips. We appreciate you guys listening, and we will catch you next time.